Captain Sarah Chen pressed her face against the viewport of the exploration vessel Times Endeavour *. Watching the crimson surface of Zarian Prime grow larger below them, the planet had been declared a dead zone by the Galactic Council 3 months ago, after the devastating war between the Zephyrian Empire and the Korthak Horde left nothing but scorched earth and twisted metal across its continents. Scanners are picking up massive energy signatures from the southern hemisphere, reported Lieutenant Marcus Webb from his station. Whatever happened down there? It was big. Sarah nodded grimly. The Galactic Council had sent them to catalog any salvageable technology before the planet was officially quarantined forever. Both the Zephyrians and Korthaks were known for their advanced weapons, and Earth's fledgling membership in the galactic community meant they often got assigned the dangerous cleanup missions that older civilizations preferred to avoid. "Take us down to those coordinates," Sarah ordered. "Full shields up, and keep the engines warm. If there's still active ordnance down there, I want to be able to get out fast." The Times Endeavour descended through the thin atmosphere, passing over vast craters and the skeletal remains of what had once been cities. The war had lasted only 6 weeks. But in that time, 2 of the galaxy's most powerful military forces had turned an entire world into a graveyard. As they approached the landing zone, Dr. Elena Vasquez looked up from her tablet with a puzzled expression. "Captain, I'm reading some very unusual biosignatures. They're faint, but there's definitely something organic down there." "Survivors?" asked Sarah, though she knew it was unlikely. The Council's initial surveys had found no signs of life. "I don't think so. The readings are different, larger, and the energy patterns don't match any known Zephyrian or Korthak life forms." The ship touched down in what appeared to be the remains of a military compound. Twisted metal structures jutted from the ground like broken teeth, and the air shimmered with residual energy, discharges from damaged equipment. Sarah assembled a small team for the initial survey. Herself, Dr. Vasquez, Lieutenant Webb, and Sergeant Tommy Rodriguez, their best combat engineer. They donned their environmental suits and stepped out into the alien wasteland. The silence was oppressive. No wind, no sounds of life, just the occasional crackle of damaged electronics. They made their way through the debris field, scanning for anything of value. "Over here," called Dr. Vasquez from behind a collapsed bunker. "I'm reading massive biosignatures from underground." They climbed over the rubble to find a partially collapsed entrance leading down into what appeared to be a vast underground facility. Emergency lighting flickered sporadically, casting eerie shadows on the walls. "This doesn't match the architectural style of either species," observed Lieutenant Webb, running his scanner along the walls. "The construction is much more advanced." As they descended deeper into the facility, the biosignatures grew stronger. The corridors were enormous, clearly designed for creatures much larger than any of the known galactic species. "Jesus," whispered Sergeant Rodriguez, pointing ahead with his flashlight. "Look at the size of those blast doors." The doors were at least 40 feet tall and proportionally thick. Whatever had built this place was massive, and judging by the scorch marks and impact craters along the walls, it had fought hard to defend it. They found the source of the biosignatures in a vast circular chamber deep underground. In the center, barely alive and connected to failing life support systems, was a creature unlike anything in the galactic databases. It was reptilian, but with an almost crystalline quality to its scales that caught and reflected light in impossible ways. Even lying unconscious and clearly injured, it was at least 20 feet long and built like a living tank. Massive claws, powerful limbs, and a head that spoke of intelligence despite its bestial appearance. "My God," breathed Dr. Vasquez, reading her scanner in amazement. "The genetic complexity is off the charts. This isn't just some animal. The neural pathways. This thing has a brain capacity that rivals our own. And it's dying," added Sarah quietly, noting the slowly failing displays on the alien life support equipment. Lieutenant Webb was examining the chamber's damaged systems. "Looks like this facility took heavy bombardment. The power systems are failing, and life support is running on backup generators that won't last much longer." "Can we help it?" asked Sarah. though she wasn't sure why she felt compelled to ask. "The life support is compatible with our portable units," reported Sergeant Rodriguez, always practical. "We could jury-rig a connection, but we'd need to get it back to the ship for proper medical attention." "Captain," said Dr. Vasquez, her voice filled with excitement. "This could be one of the most significant discoveries in galactic history. A previously unknown sapient species, possibly the original inhabitants of this world." Sarah stared at the magnificent creature, noting the old scars and recent wounds that covered its body. This being had fought in the war that destroyed its world, possibly the last of its kind. "The Galactic Council will want to study it," she said finally. "Study it, or dissect it?" asked Webb bluntly. "You know how they treat specimens of unknown species." Sarah had to admit he had a point. The Council's xenobiology departments were notorious for their invasive research methods. They would learn everything they could about this creature, and it would spend whatever remained of its life in a laboratory. But leaving it here meant certain death. The creature stirred slightly, one massive eye opening to focus on them. There was no fear in that gaze, only a weary acceptance, and something that looked almost like gratitude for not being alone in its final moments. "Scans show severe internal injuries and massive blood loss," reported Dr. Vasquez. "But the physiology is remarkably robust. With proper treatment, it might actually survive." "And then what?" asked Rodriguez. "Even if we save it, what kind of life would it have?" Sarah made her decision. "We take it back to Earth. Humanity might be new to the galactic community, but we still have our own laws and ethics. If this being is truly sapient, then it deserves the same rights and protections as any other person." "The Council won't like that," warned Webb. "Let me worry about the Council," said Sarah. "Right now, let's focus on saving a life." They worked quickly to stabilize the creature's life support and prepare it for transport. The Times Endeavor's Times cargo bay was just large enough to accommodate the being, and Dr. Vasquez worked frantically to adapt their medical systems to its alien physiology. As they prepared for takeoff, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that they were about to change everything. Humanity had always prided itself on being the species that helped others, even when it wasn't practical or profitable. Today, they had the chance to prove that those values extended to the stars. The creature remained unconscious during the journey back to Earth, its vital signs slowly stabilizing under Dr. Vasquez's careful treatment. But sometimes, Sarah could swear she saw intelligence in those brief moments when its eyes opened. Whatever this being was, wherever it came from, it was under humanity's protection now. And Sarah Chen had no intention of letting anyone or anything change that. As Earth grew larger in the viewport, Sarah began composing her report to Colonial Command. She had a feeling this was going to be a very interesting conversation. The last survivor of Zirion Prime was coming home to a world that didn't even know it existed yet. But if Sarah had learned anything about humanity during her years of service, it was that her species had an unlimited capacity for surprising themselves. And sometimes, the most important discoveries came not from what you found, but from what you chose to do about it. Dr. Elena Vasquez had been working around the clock for 3 weeks straight, and she had never been more excited in her entire career. The creature they had rescued from Zirion Prime was not only surviving, but recovering at an incredible rate that defied everything they knew about biology. "Its cellular regeneration capabilities are unlike anything we've ever seen," she explained to Captain Chen during their daily briefing. "The wounds that should have taken months to heal are closing in days. And the neural activity." She paused, scrolling through data on her tablet. "Sarah, this being is not just intelligent. It's brilliant." They were standing in the observation deck of Luna Research Station, looking down into the specially constructed habitat they had built for their guest. The creature, which they had taken to calling Titan due to its impressive size, was currently examining a holographic display that Dr. Vasquez had set up to test its cognitive abilities. "Has it shown any signs of attempting communication?" asked Sarah. "That's the fascinating part. It definitely understands that we're trying to communicate, and it's been responding to our attempts with increasingly complex patterns. But its communication method seems to be entirely different from anything we know." As they watched, Titan approached the holographic interface and began manipulating the light patterns with its claws. What had started as random movements 3 weeks ago had evolved into intricate, purposeful designs. Yesterday, it recreated a perfect three-dimensional map of the facility where we found it, continued Dr. Vasquez, complete with structural details we hadn't even noticed during our survey. So it remembers its home, said Sarah thoughtfully. More than that. It's been creating what appear to be historical records. Battles, technological schematics, star charts. Sarah, I think it's trying to tell us the story of what happened to its people. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Admiral Harrison, the head of Colonial Command, accompanied by a tall, stern-faced woman in diplomatic attire. Captain Chen, said Admiral Harrison without preamble. This is Ambassador Krell from the Galactic Council. She's here about our guest. Ambassador Krell stepped forward, her expression cold and businesslike. Captain, you've created quite a stir with your unauthorized rescue mission. The creature you've brought to Earth is the subject of significant interest to the Council's Xenobiology Department. Sarah felt her jaw tighten. The being under our protection is recovering from severe injuries. It's not ready for any kind of transfer or extensive examination. I'm afraid that's not your decision to make, replied Krell. The Galactic Council has jurisdiction over all discovered alien life forms, particularly those of unknown origin. Arrangements have been made for immediate transport to our research facilities on Kepler Station. Over my dead body, said Sarah flatly. Admiral Harrison looked uncomfortable. Sarah, we can't afford to antagonize the Council. Earth's membership in the galactic community is still provisional. Sir, with respect, this being isn't some animal to be shipped off to a laboratory. Our preliminary tests indicate full sapience. Under Earth law, that makes it a person, with all the rights and protections that entails. Ambassador Krell's expression didn't change. Human law doesn't apply to non-human entities outside Earth's solar system. This creature was found on a Council-designated dead zone. It belongs to the galactic community for study. Then the galactic community can study it here, under human supervision, said Sarah firmly. Before the argument could escalate further, alarms began blaring throughout the station. Dr. Vasquez looked at her tablet in confusion. That's coming from Titan's habitat. But all the vital signs are normal. Tense zero. They rushed to the observation deck to find Titan standing at the center of the chamber, fully alert and focused on something beyond the walls. The creature's scales were shifting color in complex patterns, and a low harmonic sound was emanating from somewhere deep in its chest. What's it doing? Asked Admiral Harrison. Dr. Vasquez was frantically checking her instruments. I'm reading massive energy spikes throughout the station. But they're not coming from our systems. They're coming from everywhere. On cue, Lieutenant Webb's voice crackled over the comm system. Captain, we've got incoming ships on long-range sensors. Configuration unknown, but they're big. Really big. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. How many? 12 confirmed contacts, possibly more following behind. ETA, approximately 4 hours. Ambassador Krell had gone pale. This is impossible. The Xerion system was completely sterilized. Nothing could have survived. Titan's harmonic sounds grew more complex, and suddenly the holographic display in its chamber activated on its own, showing a detailed star map with multiple points of light converging on Earth's location. It's calling them, whispered Dr. Vasquez in amazement. Somehow, it's been transmitting a signal, calling for rescue. From who? Demanded Krell. As if in response to her question, the display shifted to show massive ships, each one easily the size of a space station. The design was unlike anything in the galactic databases, but the crystalline quality of their hulls matched the patterns on Titan's scales. The Druknari, said Dr. Vasquez, reading data streaming across the display. That's what they call themselves. And according to this, she paused, double-checking her translation algorithms. According to this, they're not extinct. They've been hiding, waiting. Admiral Harrison was already on his comm unit. Alert all defense stations. I want every ship we have ready for deployment. Sir, said Sarah, I don't think they're here to fight. If Titan wanted to harm us, it could have done so weeks ago. Its species is clearly far more advanced than ours. Ambassador Krell was backing toward the exit. I need to contact the Council immediately. This changes everything. No, said Sarah firmly, blocking her path. This doesn't change anything. Titan is under human protection, and that protection extends to its people. You can't possibly defend against a Draknari fleet, protested Krell. We're not going to fight them, said Sarah with growing confidence. We're going to welcome them. She turned to Dr. Vasquez. Can you interface with Titan's communication system? I want to send a message to the incoming fleet. I think so. The harmonic patterns seem to be modulated through the station's power grid. I can patch into that. Good. Tell them that their friend is safe, that we've been caring for it, and that they're welcome to come aboard to see for themselves. Sarah, said Admiral Harrison carefully. Are you sure about this? We're talking about first contact with a previously unknown species. The protocols alone, sir. Sometimes the right thing to do is more important than following protocols. Dr. Vasquez had connected her translation system to Titan's communication network. The creature turned to look at them. And for the first time since they'd found it, Sarah saw something she could only describe as hope in its ancient eyes. Message ready to transmit, Captain. Send it. The harmonic sounds changed pitch and pattern, and across the station's systems, energy flowed in ways that human science couldn't yet understand. The message went out, carried on frequencies that spanned dimensions. 2 hours later, the reply came back. Titan's display showed a single image, the face of another Draknari, older and bearing elaborate markings that suggested high rank. When it spoke, the translation system rendered its words in perfect, formal English. Humans of Earth, you have shown kindness to our lost child. This is not forgotten. We come not as conquerors, but as those who would meet the guardians of our own. Ambassador Krell had remained silent during the exchange, but now she stepped forward. Captain Chen, what you've done here goes against every established protocol for first contact. The Council will never approve of this. Sarah smiled. Then I guess the Council will have to learn to adapt. Because like it or not, humanity just became the first species to successfully conduct independent first contact with the Draknari. Through the viewport, the first of the Draknari ships was becoming visible as a bright star against the black of space. It was beautiful and terrible, ancient and advanced beyond human understanding, and it was coming in peace, because a human crew had chosen to save a life instead of following orders. You know what this means, don't you? Asked Dr. Vasquez quietly. Sarah nodded, watching the approaching ships. It means everything just changed. For humanity, for the galaxy, for everyone. Titan approached the observation window and placed one massive claw against the transparent aluminum, looking out at the approaching ships of its people. When it turned back to the humans, there was something unmistakably like gratitude in its expression. And for the first time since they'd found it, the creature that would soon be reunited with its own kind made a sound that could only be described as joy. The first Draknari ship to dock at Luna Research Station was a sight that would be remembered throughout human history. The vessel, which the Draknari called times Korith Mai times, or Homecoming, was over 2 kilometers long, and seemed to be grown rather than built, its crystalline hull pulsing with inner light that matched the patterns on Titan's scales. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the main docking bay, flanked by Admiral Harrison and what appeared to be half of Earth's diplomatic corps, all of whom had arrived in the past 6 hours since news of first contact had reached Earth. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife. Remember, Admiral Harrison said quietly, we're making history here. Everything we do in the next few hours will determine humanity's relationship with an entirely new species. Admiral, Harrison said. Remember, Admiral Harrison said, with an entirely new species. Sarah nodded, but her attention was focused on Titan, who had been brought to the docking bay in a specially designed mobility platform. The creature had been growing stronger every day, and now it seemed to radiate anticipation. Its scales were shifting through colors Sarah had never seen before, creating patterns that were almost hypnotic in their complexity. The airlock cycled, and humanity got its first look at the Draknari. They were magnificent. The lead figure stood nearly 15 feet tall, with the same crystalline scales as Titan but arranged in more elaborate patterns that spoke of age and authority. Behind it came 6 others, each unique in their markings and bearing, but all radiating a presence that was both ancient and powerful. The leader stepped forward and spoke, its voice a harmonic that seemed to resonate in the bones of every human present. The translation came through perfectly. I am Koreth Thalan, keeper of the deep memory and speaker for the lost. We come to reclaim our child, and to honor those who showed mercy when none was expected. Titan moved forward on its platform, and the reunion that followed needed no translation. The sounds the Draknari made were clearly expressions of joy, relief, and something that transcended species barriers. When Koreth Thalan placed a massive claw gently on Titan's head, every human watching felt the emotional weight of the moment. Your child, said Sarah, stepping forward, has been brave and patient. We've learned much from each other. Koreth Thalan turned those ancient, intelligent eyes toward her. Captain Sarah Chen. Titan Cole has shared its memories with us. Your kindness to one you did not know, when gain was not possible, speaks well of your people. We did what anyone should do, replied Sarah. We found someone who needed help. And we helped. You say this as if it is simple, as if all beings would choose as you chose. The Draknari's expression was unreadable, but something in its tone suggested profound meaning. Oh, the galaxy has not known such simplicity for many cycles. Admiral Harrison stepped forward. We're honored by your presence, and grateful for this opportunity to meet your people. Perhaps we could arrange formal discussions between our governments. Koreth Thalan was silent for a long moment, consulting with the other Draknari in harmonics too complex for the translation system. Finally, it turned back to the humans. There is much you do not yet understand about the galaxy you have joined. The war that destroyed Titan Cole's world was not between the Zephyrians and the Korthax, as your council believes. Sarah felt a chill of premonition. What do you mean? For 3,000 of your years, my people have fought a war against entities that seek to consume all life, all thought, all hope. We are the last guardians of a barrier that keeps the devourers from spreading beyond the galactic rim. The docking bay fell silent except for the hum of life support systems. The facility where you found Titan Cole was our last major stronghold in this sector. We held it for centuries, but the enemy finally broke through. We thought all were lost. Koreth Thalan's gaze settled on Titan with obvious affection. We did not know that one had survived, protected by failing machines and stubborn will. Dr. Vasquez, who had been silent until now, spoke up. The Zephyrians and Korthax? What happened to them? They believed they were fighting each other for control of resource-rich worlds. They did not understand they were being manipulated into destroying the very defenses that protected them. Both fleets were consumed when the Devourers broke through our lines. Ambassador Krell, who had been growing increasingly pale during the conversation, finally found her voice. This is impossible. The Galactic Council has records going back 5,000 years. There's never been any mention of these Devourers. Koreth Thalan turned to her with what might have been amusement. Your council knows only what it is permitted to know. For 3 millennia, races like the Draknari have died in silence to maintain that ignorance. Better that the galaxy live in peace, believing itself safe, than panic in the knowledge of what lurks beyond the rim. But that's going to change now, said Sarah, understanding flooding through her. Yes, the barrier has been breached in 17 sectors. We can no longer hold the line alone. The galaxy must be told the truth, and preparations must be made. Admiral Harrison looked grim. What kind of preparations? The kind that will require every species, every world, every ship to stand together, or watch everything they have built turned to ash and void. Sarah felt the weight of the moment settling on her shoulders. Humanity had sought the stars looking for knowledge and adventure. They had found a war that predated their entire civilization. "What do you need from us?" she asked simply. Coreth Thalan's expression seemed to shift, showing something that might have been respect. "Your species puzzles us, Captain Chen. Most civilizations, when faced with a threat beyond their understanding, seek first to protect themselves. You ask what you can give. Because that's who we are," said Sarah. "We don't abandon friends, and we don't run from fights that matter. Even fights you cannot hope to win, especially those fights." The Draknari leader was silent for a long moment, then turned to consult with its companions again. When it faced the humans again, its manner had changed somehow, become more formal. "Captain Sarah Chen, by right of first rescue and the bond of blood debt between your people and ours, I offer you the compact of the deep memory. Will humanity stand with the Draknari as guardians of the light?" Sarah looked at Admiral Harrison, who nodded grimly. She looked at Dr. Vasquez, who was practically vibrating with excitement despite the gravity of the situation. She looked at Titan, who was watching her with those ancient, intelligent eyes. "We stand with you," she said. "Whatever comes." Coreth Thalan approached her and extended one massive claw. When Sarah reached out to touch it, she felt a brief electric sensation, and suddenly the patterns on Titan's scales were echoed in faint markings that appeared along her arm. "The compact is sealed," announced Coreth Thalan. "Let the galaxy know that the Draknari are no longer alone in the dark." Ambassador Krell was frantically speaking into her communicator, no doubt reporting back to the Galactic Council. Within hours, every major government in known space would know that humanity had just committed itself to a war that had been raging since before their species had learned to use fire. But looking at Titan, healthy and strong and surrounded by its people because humanity had chosen compassion over caution, Sarah felt no regret. "So what happens now?" asked Dr. Vasquez. Coreth Thalan gestured toward the viewport, where more Draknari ships were arriving. "Now we teach your people what they will need to know to survive what is coming, and we prepare for the greatest battle our galaxy has ever seen." Sarah smiled grimly. "Well, it's a good thing humans are quick learners." "As are." "Indeed," agreed Coreth Thalan. "Titan Cole has spoken much of human adaptability. We shall see if your reputation is earned." Number 7. 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 As the Draknari ships took position around Luna Station, forming a protective formation that spoke of long experience with warfare, Sarah couldn't help but think that humanity had gotten exactly what it always seemed to find among the stars. More than it bargained for. But they had also found something else. Something that might matter more than all the rest. They had found friends willing to stand with them against the dark, and sometimes, that made all the difference in the universe. 3 months later, when the first Devourer scouts appeared at the edge of human space, they found not the easy prey they expected, but a coalition of species working together with grim determination and the kind of stubborn courage that had once convinced a human captain to save a dying alien rather than follow orders. The war for the galaxy was about to begin, but for the first time in 3,000 years, the Draknari were not fighting alone, and as any student of human history could have told them, that changed everything.